The Illyrians were a group of Indo-European-speaking peoples who inhabited the Western Balkan Peninsula in ancient times. They constituted one of the three main Paleo-Balkan populations, along with the Thracians and Greeks. The territory the Illyrians inhabited came to be known as Illyria, to later Greek and Roman authors who identified a territory that corresponds to most of Albania, Montenegro, Kosovo, much of Croatia and Bosnia and Herzegovina, western and central Serbia, and some parts of Slovenia between the Adriatic Sea in the west, the Drava River in the north, the Morava River in the east, and the Saronian Mountains in the south. The first account of Illyrian peoples dates back to the 6th century BC in the works of the ancient Greek writer Hecataeus of Miletus. The name Illyrians, as applied by the ancient Greeks to their northern neighbors, may have referred to a broad, ill-defined group of peoples. It has been suggested that the Illyrian tribes never collectively identified as Illyrians, and that it is unlikely that they used any collective nomenclature at all. Illyrian seems to be the name of a specific Illyrian tribe who were among the first to encounter the ancient Greeks during the Bronze Age. The Greeks later applied this term Illyrians, pars pro toto, to all people with similar language and customs. In archaeological, historical, and linguistic studies, research about the Illyrians from the late 19th to the 21st century has moved from pan-Illyrian theories, which identified as Illyrian even groups north of the Balkans, to more well-defined groupings based on Illyrian onomastics and material anthropology since the 1960s, as newer inscriptions were found and sites excavated. There are two principal Illyrian onomastic areas, the southern and the Dalmatian Pannonian, with the area of the Dardani as a region of overlapping between the two. A third area to the north of them, which in ancient literature was usually identified as part of Illyria, has been connected more to the Venetic language than to Illyrian. Illyric settlement in Italy was and still is attributed to a few ancient tribes, which are thought to have migrated along the Adriatic shorelines to the Italian peninsula from the geographic Illyria, the Dauni, the Puseti, and Messapi, collectively known as Iapyges. The term Illyrians last appears in the historical record in the 7th century, referring to a Byzantine garrison operating within the former Roman province of Illyricum. What happened to the Illyrians after the settlement of the Slavs in the region is a matter of debate among scholars, and includes the question whether the Albanian language is a descendant of an Illyrian language. Etymology. While the Illyrians are largely recorded under the ethnonyms of Illyrioi and Illyrii, these appear to be misspelt renditions by Greek or Latin-speaking writers. Based on historically attested forms denoting specific Illyrian tribes or the Illyrians as a whole, the native tribal name from which these renditions were based has been reconstructed by linguists such as Heiner Eichner. According to Eichner, this ethnonym translating to water snake is derived from Proto-Indo-European *udlo of water aquatic, sharing a common root with ancient Greek ulos meaning fish, or a small water snake. The Illyrian ethnonym shows a DL-L shift via assimilation, as well as the addition of the suffix urio, which is found in Illyrian toponyms such as Tragurium. Eichner also points out the tribal name's close semantic correspondence to that of the Enchelei, which translates to eel people, depicting a similar motif of aquatic snake-like fauna. It is also pointed out that the ancient Greeks must have learned this name from a tribe in southern Illyria, later applying it to all related and neighboring peoples. History. Depending on the complexity of the diverse physical geography of the Balkans, arable farming and livestock, mixed farming, rearing had constituted the economic basis of the Illyrians during the Iron Age. In southern Illyria, organized realms were formed earlier than in other areas of this region. One of the oldest known Illyrian kingdoms is that of the Enchelei, which seems to have reached its height from the 8th–7th centuries BC, but the kingdom fell from dominant power around the 6th century BC. It seems that the weakening of the kingdom of Enchelei resulted in their assimilation and inclusion into a newly established Illyrian realm at the latest in the 5th century BC, marking the arising of the Dacereti, who appear to have replaced the Enchelei in the lakeland area of Lychnidus. According to a number of modern scholars, the dynasty of Bardilis, the first attested Illyrian dynasty, was Daceretan. The weakening of the Enchelean realm was also caused by the strengthening of another Illyrian kingdom established in its vicinity, that of the Talanti, which existed for some time along with that of the Enchelei. The Talanti, Another people among the more anciently known groups of Illyrian tribes lived on the Adriatic coast of southern Illyria, modern Albania, dominating at various times much of the plain between the Drin and the Aus, comprising the area around Epidamnus, Dyrrachium. In the 7th century BC, the Tolantii invoked the aid of Corcyra and Corinth in a war against the Liburni. After the defeat and expulsion from the region of the Liburni, the Corcyrians founded in 627 BC on the Illyrian mainland a colony called Epidamnus, thought to have been the name of a barbarian king of the region. A flourishing commercial center emerged and the city grew rapidly. The Tolantii continued to play an important role in Illyrian history between the 5th and 4th, 3rd centuries BC, and in particular in the history of Epidamnus, both as its neighbors and as part of its population. Notably, they influenced the affairs and the internal conflicts between aristocrats and democrats. The Tolantian kingdom seems to have reached its climax during Glaucias's rule, in the years between 335 BC and 302 BC. The Illyrian kingdoms frequently came into conflicts with the neighboring ancient Macedonians, and the Illyrian pirates were also seen as a significant threat to the neighboring peoples. At the Neretva Delta, there was a strong Hellenistic influence on the Illyrian tribe of Daurs. Their capital was Dorsan, located in Osanici near Stolac, in Herzegovina, which became the main center of classical Illyrian culture. Dorsan, during the 4th century BC, was surrounded by megalithic 5-meter-high stone walls, composed out of large trapeze stones blocks. Daurs also made unique bronze coins and sculptures. The Illyrians even conquered Greek colonies on the Dalmatian islands. After Philip II of Macedon defeated Bardylus 358 BC, the Grabai under Grabos II became the strongest state in Illyria. Philip II killed 7,000 Illyrians in a great victory and annexed the territory up to Lake Ohrid. During the second part of the 3rd century BC, a number of Illyrian tribes seem to have united to form a proto-state, stretching from the central part of present-day Albania up to Neretva River in Herzegovina. The political entity was financed on piracy and ruled from 250 BC by the king Agron. The Illyrian attack under Agron against Aurelians mounted in either 232 or 231 BC is described by Polybius. 100 Lembi with 5,000 men on board sailed up to land at Median. Dropping anchor at daybreak, they disembarked speedily and in secret. They then formed up in the order that was usual in their own country and advanced in their several companies against the Aetolian lines. The latter were overwhelmed with astonishment at the unexpected nature and boldness of the move. But they had long been inspired with overweening self-confidence, and having full reliance on their own forces, were far from being dismayed. They drew up the greater part of their hoplites and cavalry in front of their own lines on the level ground, and with a portion of their cavalry and their light infantry, they hastened to occupy some rising ground in front of their camp, which nature had made easily defensible. A single charge, however, of the Illyrians, whose numbers in close order gave them irresistible weight, served to dislodge the light-armed troops and forced the cavalry who were on the ground with them to retire to the hoplites. But the Illyrians, being on higher ground, and charging down on from it upon the Aetolian troops formed up on the plain, routed them without difficulty. The Medeonians joined the action by sallying out of the town and charging the Aetolians. Thus, after killing a great number, and taking a still greater number prisoners, and becoming masters also of their arms and baggage, the Illyrians, having carried out the orders of Agron, conveyed their baggage and the rest of their booty to their boats, and immediately set sail for their own country. He was succeeded by his wife Tuta, who assumed the regency for her stepson Penas, following Agron's death in 231 BC. This is the story about Illyria. Thank you for watching and see you in the next videos.